It's the one only Despotic, bringing you guys another gameplay commentary. This is Elder Scrolls Online, and I really wanted to make this commentary because some of you might not know this, but I've been playing like a Magic Nightblade build for a while. It's just been on the cover, and I never really talk about it. I don't put commentaries up. I don't even put videos up. This is just my own little, side project. Even though my main is Stamina DK, and I play that often, and you see a lot of videos about it. And I played Stamina Nightblade. Like mainly, I play Stamina. I have played Magic of Sork, but I'm at that point where I really need help, and this is directed more to like those elite Magic and Nightblade players, right? Those players who are just a cut above everyone else, and hopefully you guys are you look at my videos, because sometimes people look at your videos, but they're like new players and they're not experienced, and it's always welcoming when someone in the comment section is an experienced player, really skilled, an elite player, and they're giving you kind of constructive criticism and advice, and that's something I think that's necessary for anyone that wants to get better at anything, and I've said this in the past, right? I know my commentaries tend to be long-winded. This will be somewhat of a long commentary, but this commentary is in a sense attempting to get suggestions and advice from you guys. So I'll tell you where I am in terms of playing this build, right? I'll go over the build, and I'll explain where I am in terms of like my interactions and where it is that I'm strong when it comes to this build, and where it is where I'm severely lacking when it comes to this build, and what it is that I really want this build to do, and also how it kind of affects my playstyle. Like my playstyle by definition is somewhat aggressive, right? And this build allows you to be very aggressive to the point where it's almost intoxicating, right? Where you get lulled into this belief that you're like, there's nothing that can touch you, right? And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. But let's break down the build. Let's talk about it's slightly changed from the other Magic Nightblade build that I posted. That build was 5-piece heavy and 2-piece light. This build is different, right? Since I've farmed what is it that I've farmed? Since I've farmed Rattle Cage, I now have the jewelry, so I'm going 5-piece light and 2-piece heavy, right? And I'll explain why I went this way, and how it really, to me, it's more of a complete build compared to the heavy. And so let's get to the build. Let's discuss it, and like what it is that I was thinking, and like my approach to it. It's not complete. There's some areas, that's why I haven't made too much. Like most of the stuff here, it's not gold, except for jewelry and like some other pieces I made legendary because they were in other builds. All right, so let's get to what I'm running and just describe it, and I'll explain why I'm using these skills and why I set out the way I set out, and then I'll get your feedback, right? I'll tell you guys where I'm struggling. All right, so I'm running Swallow Soul, which is amazing. Merciless Resolve, really amazing. I'm gonna be saying amazing a lot, but the reason I don't run and execute is mainly because of this skill here, Merciless Resolve. And that's one of the reasons why I don't run and execute. I don't have a gap closer. This build, the way I attempt to play this build is keep away when I want someone to be kept away, right? I don't know how best to explain that. I'm a fan of crit. I think crit is very important. I'm also a fan of just max magicka. And I think the Magicka Nightblade is similar to a stamina DK in a sense where max stats really matter. Prolonged suffering. This is one of the tools I kind of use to play the keep away, and it's a really good skill, man. I just can't explain how great of a skill this is. It's a really good combination with Crippling Grasp, and it just offers really good mobility, and it's like a delayed effect, right? That immobilizing effect. It's somewhat delayed, so that's why I run it, right? So these two skills are my keep away skills. I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't have mass hysteria. I don't think I need it, mainly because of these two skills. Ice Comet, one for the max magicka, and it's just a really good combo when you have Merciless ready, you have these two skills ready, and you drop this. All right, it's just a very good setup. There's so many combos with the Magicka Nightblade, it's almost laughable, right? So my back bar, I kind of went with Harness Magicka, and I'll explain why, right? My issue isn't dealing with stamina builds, right? Stamina builds, I don't have too much of an issue with them at all, right? Magicka builds are a little bit different, so that's why I went with Harness Magicka. I should go with the other morph because it gives me a larger shield. I'm still thinking about that. I went with Mirage for that extra resistance, which is great because I already get the movement speed from Crippling Grasp, so I don't run into that issue. Healing Ward, you pop this. This is just like a get out of free jail card in some ways. Okay, siphoning attacks, a great utility to use, and I use it often. Some people disagree about this, but I don't. I think a Nightblade should always have Cloak. That's just me, and I don't use it as a crutch. I just think it allows me to get in and out of fights, and it allows me to pick and choose when I want to get into a fight. Ice Comet, it's the same thing as giving me more max stats. All right. Like you guys have seen this. You guys have seen this build, so it's, I really don't want to get into too much about it. But I am a vampire. Increase your max magicka and magic recovery by 2% for each mage guild ability slot. So that's why I'm using it, for that additional 2%. Also, you get an additional 5% here, and also you get increasing your spell critical rating by 2191. So great. All right. So this is the build, right? In a sense, I haven't maxed out Undaunted as yet, which is it's there. I'm a Breton, which gives me spell resistance, which comes in really handy, and also the reduction in magicka cost. So, and I'm also working on getting medicinal use. Like, this is just a hobby for me, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the stats. So if I'm in Cyrodiil, I'm at around like 23,000 health. Okay, like I said before, I'm running 5 light, 2 medium. These are my stats. I have really good crit. I have really good weapon damage. I'm sorry, spell damage. I have really good resistance in terms of crit. And my max magic is 40. Now, once I get Undaunted, that'll go up by an additional 2%. If I were to, so let's go to, I'm also running the Atro, increase your magic recovery by 1,900, like 198. So I'm good here. I'm good here. I don't have too much of an issue. All right, so let's go to some things that I kind of stack, and I'll show you what I mean by stacking. That's just how, of course, my resto isn't maxed out, but right. So flame staff increases your damage done with single target abilities by 8%. So I'm using that, right, along with this, right, which it gives me minor berserk, increasing your damage done by 8%. So that's another thing, right? So I proc this, so I'm getting what, 16%. Great. Okay, so that's what I'm using. All right, so let's get to what I'm running. I have one Maelstrom Inferno sharpened. I have a defensive, well, resto staff defending. I do have the Maelstrom. It's on my Sork, but it's not defending, and that's one of the reasons why I stick with defending, because when I'm on this bar, I like to stay on this bar. When I'm on this bar, I have good resistance. To me, I think it's decent resistance for a 5-piece light. So let's go to just running any resto defending. I'm running 4 pieces of martial knowledge and 1 Kina, 2-piece rattle cage on the. If I had a choice, I would go rattle cage here and rattle cage here, and the head and which I already have in the chest. But instead of that, I'm going rattle cage chest to give me a bit more, to be a bit stout, and I'm going rattle cage waist. Okay, it's all in pen, and of course I have rattle cage jewelry, because that gives me an extra, like an available slot. So I'm going with that. So this is pretty much the build, right? But I didn't want to make I didn't want this to be a build video. Now here's where I stand in terms of fighting. A 1v1, I don't have an issue in 1v1 situations. I don't, right? And I think that's mainly because of my just experience playing this game, right? I know when to use certain skills. I know when to fall back. I know how to keep my buffs up. The second thing is I don't have issues fighting 2 people. If it's 2 people, I can hang. I'm good. I don't have an issue. If it's a third person, and that person is of the same level as those other 2 people, and I have good line of sight, I'm perfect. I'm good. But then where the issue comes in, it's that 4th person, and it's not the 4th person in the sense that my rotation is off. It's just like, what's my next approach? Because oftentimes I find myself on my defensive ball, which I'm fine with, right? I find myself here, I'm always trying to keep the buffs, right? And I'm kind of hesitant with harness, right? I'm a bit hesitant with harness, right? So once I'm here and I have this, I'm switching back, getting my buffs up, and I'm getting ready to start my rotation, my keep away, right? I'm just getting ready to start that. But once I'm getting ready to start to get the kill, something happens, and that's the problem. I want to know, like, what is it that you guys do when you're fighting 3 guys and one guy is a tank on a stamp, like on my stamp DK. I know what to do. I see a tank, I'm going to go through the whole, I'm going to test every other player out while moving, right? I'm going to test every player to see, well, should I be fighting? I'll stay away from the tank, going to move on to the magic, move on to the stam. If it's a Nightblade, prioritize that person. but it's different. Like on a Magic Nightblade, a stamina Nightblade is not my issue, right? My issue is mainly tanks and um and Magic DKs. Right? That's where my issue is. Tanks, Magic DKs. The stamina guys, sometimes the Magic sort, but most of the stamina guys I don't have issues with. My issue is dealing with the tanks, moving from the tank and going on to the DK. And now I get into this back and forth with this one DK. He's playing the long game of, and most of you might think this to be strange, right? But this Magic DK is playing my game, right? We're both playing this kind of keep away who can CC who and who could be the biggest problem child there is, right? And that's my issue. My issue is moving from the tank to the Magic DK, and then dealing with the stamina player, and that's my problem because I'm here. I'm there, right? I'm kind of hesitant about hardened healing ward, so I'm back over here, and I'm procking. I'm trying. I keep this guy at bay, right? And then I turn, and this is where my problem comes in. Like my focus is completely gone, right? And I now have to start from square one, and that's my issue. Like, what is it that you guys do as Magic Nightblades, right? Like, what is it that you do that keeps you in that kind of rotation, right? Being focused. Because I can do it on my stamina DK. I can do it on my stamina Nightblade. I can even do it on my Magic Sword. The issue is going from this player that I'm focusing to then going here. And that's my problem. I really want to know, like, what is it that you guys do to kind of make sure you stay focused, or is it that you just you stay on this one player, right? You focus that player, get your combo off, and then focus someone else, right? Do you get the combo off, pop the meteor away from the dodge roll, and then pop them with spectral bow? Like, that's my thing. Do I just completely disregard the other guys, get back to my defensive bar, buff up, eat the damage, and then just focus on that one player, and then finish that one player, and then move on? Because that's my issue. My issue is like how is it that you, as Magic Nightblades, like how is it that you're prioritizing like who to deal with? Like, if I see a tank, it's like, as a stamina DK or a stamina knight, like, I don't worry about tanks, right? I know they can't really do anything to me, but tanks are really problematic for me because they really get into my rotation, and that's my problem, right? And it's the pure tanks. It's not the players who are quasi tanks. It's the pure ones, the ones. Those are the ones that give me a lot of trouble, and that's my problem. So if you guys can kind of help me out with that, it'll be really helpful. Like, what is it? Are you, when you switch to a defensive bar, are you always in a habit of like keeping up harness and just getting back to it and just disregarding the tank through harness and healing ward, or are you just completely avoiding the tank and focusing on everyone else? And when you have a tank and a Magic DK, it's just really difficult to prioritize, to move from that player and start the rotation here, and that's my problem. And it also has to do with spacing. Like, my spacing is fine, but sometimes I think like I push too far, where I'm really at that point where I can't cloak away, right? I'm here, right? I'm here, and if you're fighting a really good DK or average DK, and you're here and you want to disengage, and you go and you go here, they're gonna pop talons. That's the thing. Like the really good ones will pop talons or fossilize you, even though you go into stealth. So that's that's my that's my issue. So if you guys can help me out with this, it would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, it's the one with Spotted. Deuces.